Now I better do the call to order.
Thank you, Chair Pranger. So looking for approval of the addenda and late items.
So moved.
Director Facio, Director Popov, those in favor, contrary carried.
Item 3.1, we have a delegation of Sean Reed from KPMG, which is a presentation of the 2021 Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District audited financial statements.
Welcome, Sean. Or Mr. Reed, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Glad to be here in person, probably for the first time in 3 years, I think. I think the last 2 years I did it virtually. So my job here today is to help the board with their oversight of the financial process. You hire me to report on the financial statements, and I'm here today to give you a summary of our audit. So I'm going to focus on a couple areas of focus during my presentation, primarily around investments and the presumed fraud risk of management override of controls. I'll speak to those in more detail in a few minutes. But really, we are complete our audit, subject to having this discussion with the board and having the financial statements approved. On this page, all I really want to talk about is independence. It's there in writing. We have to be independent of the hospital district in order to issue our opinion. So I like to repeat that both verbally and in writing, and I won't go through the rest of the comments on this slide. So talking about areas of focus, most of 2021, we operated during COVID. And really what that means is in some cases, people were operating from home or in a virtual environment. So we look at the controls around operating in a virtual environment or not necessarily in the office. And we didn't notice any concerns in this area through our testing. Another area of focus is the investments. It's your single largest asset on your balance sheet. And those investments have been building up over the last few years as you have been raising additional funds for future projects or for future repayment of debt. So we've confirmed all of the investment balances with your various investment advisors, and we performed analytical procedures over the investment income. We did note that one investment was classified as long-term, and it's an investment with MFA BC, which is readily convertible to cash. So that investment was just reclassified on the financial statements back to cash, but it is still an investment from your process. Is just a current investment as opposed to a long-term investment. No other issues were noted from our testing. And then I mentioned this one in my opening comments, the fraud risk from management override of controls. This is a presumed fraud risk in the auditing standards, and we have to address this during our audit. We haven't identified any specific additional risks that management is overriding those controls, but we are required to address that. So what do? We test journal entries, other adjustments. We perform retrospective review of any significant estimates, and we evaluate the business risks of any unusual transactions. We did note that there is a situation where a journal entry can be deleted, not intentionally, but without a password. And we've asked management to review the controls around that and tighten that up so that the future journal entries cannot be deleted. And there are no further issues noted from our testing. I think I will leave it there, and but happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Are there any questions from board members? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation and the work on the audit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There is some.
So, Madam Chair, we will then go to item 3.1.1, which is the 2021 Hospital District financial statements. There's a motion for your consideration.
Director Siemens, Director Klug. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Item 4.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of April 28th, 2022.
Moved. Seconded, Director Adamson. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Item 5.1 is minutes for information only. It's the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Capital Project Working Group open meeting minutes of April 21. Happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none.
Okay, then moving to item 6, which is reports from board directors.
Any reports from boards of directors? Seeing none.
Then we move down to public question period for items relevant to the agenda, and we'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Thank you. We do have a few members of the public that are joining us in person tonight, and this would be your opportunity to ask any questions with respect to the hospital district agenda. And we do have 3 members of the public online with us through Zoom. And this would also be your opportunity to ask any questions relevant to the hospital district agenda. You would just hit the raise hand function to indicate that you have a question. And there appears to be no questions with respect to the hospital district.
Thank you.
So looking for a motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
So
Moved
moved.
Director Popoff, second Director Facio. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Call the open portion of the Fraser Valley Regional District meeting to order. The first item, Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Chair Lum. So item 5.1, again, we'd like to welcome Sean Reed from KPMG for a presentation of the 2021 Fraser Valley Regional District audited financial statements.
Mr. Reed, long time no see.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, we are finalized our audit for the regional district, subject to having this discussion with the board. I'm going to cover a few areas of focus again, the financial reporting considerations around COVID, deferred revenues, investments, and government business partnership. Before I get into those areas, I do again confirm our independence with the board in order for us to sign off on the audited statements. So in terms of areas of focus, again, COVID-19, working in a virtual environment, we extend our testing to make sure that any changes in controls are followed. And we do extend our testing a little bit in that particular area, and there were no issues noted in our testing. Deferred revenues. Deferred revenues can be deferred based on the terms of the agreements, particularly those agreements that are with senior levels of government, being the province and the federal government. Sometimes they put specific terms and conditions in there. So we have to inspect all new agreements to confirm the appropriateness of the deferral of the revenues, which we've done. We've confirmed the amount of the funding with those agreements, and we've confirmed the appropriateness of the recognition of those portion of the revenues that should be deferred. And there's no issues noted from our testing. Another area of focus is your investment portfolio. Outside of your tangible capital assets, your property, buildings, and equipment, it's the single largest asset on your balance sheet. So again, we've confirmed those balances with your investment advisors and performed analytical procedures over the investment income. There was a new investment in the MFA investment pool. And again, that investment was reclassified to cash. No other issues were noted during our testing. The regional district does have a 1/3 interest in a government business partnership, which is a forestry license or forestry area. We've obtained the audited financial statements for that partnership, recalculated the value of the district's 1/3 value, including the share of the net profit that was allocated during the year. And again, no issues noted in our testing. And then finally, the fraud risk from management override of controls. Again, this is a presumed fraud risk, and we haven't identified any specific fraud risk with respect to the Fraser Valley Regional District. And we've done the normal testing of journal entries and review of any significant unusual transactions. And again, no issues noted with our testing. And those are the significant areas. And our audit report, which is attached to the financial statements, is what we call a clean opinion. I'll leave it there and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, and thank you for your firm's hard work on this audit. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate another clean opinion. And any questions from directors? I don't see any. Looks like we're going to let you off easy. Okay, Ms. Kenneman.
So item 5.1.1 is the 2021 Fraser Valley Regional District financial statements. I will just note that the recommendation is actually missing from the head sheet. So it reads that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board approve the 2021 audited consolidated financial statements for the Fraser Valley Regional District.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Pranger. Any discussion? Just extend my thanks to Ms. Lonsborough and Ms. Klein and your respective team members. A lot of work on the financials, a lot of work preparing for the audit, and another, as I said, clean opinion. So well done. Thank you very much. Don't see any questions. Call the question. All in favor, opposed, if any. The item carries. Next item.
Next is 6.1. We have the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of April 28th, 2022. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Siemens. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, opposed, if any. The item carries. Next item.
Items 7.1 through 7.4 are committee minutes from information and matters arising. Happy to separate any of those out.
Any questions on any of these items? I don't see any. Next item.
Item 8 is motions for which notice has been given. It's 8.1 that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board directs staff to obtain a legal opinion about establishing tree bylaws within electoral areas.
Thank you. Do I have a mover and a seconder? It's moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Director Bales.
There at the third meeting at Harrison Mills OCP, there was a lot of people concerned with the birds, eagles, hummingbirds, specifically the tall trees, the large trees. Elbow Creek has erosion problems and enforceable flood zones in the area. And I think that all leads to a tree bylaw. It could lead to a tree bylaw.
So the intent is to obtain a legal opinion to
Yeah.
find out what is enforceable by the regional district, if possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments or questions from any other directors? No, online. Let's see. I saw a hand up there, Director Horn.
Director Dixon had her hand up. I don't know if she changed her mind, but she was it before me.
Raised now, but
No, go ahead. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, thank you. Two comments. The first is I would like to ask staff through the chair whether or not, in their view, there is any question as to the ability to do this. I know that in Mission, we have a tree bylaw, and I don't see why there would be a difference here. So if we could ask that first of staff, and then I'll make a comment.
Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Chair. We have Graham Danilus on the line, our Director of Planning and Development. I think he would be best positioned to comment on tree bylaws in regional districts.
Mr. Danilus, welcome.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Regional districts have different powers when it comes to tree bylaws than municipalities do. Municipalities have broad powers under the community charter to regulate trees, whereas regional districts under the Local Government Act can have their explicit powers with respect to trees come into play when there's a flooding or landslide risk, and presumably the trees provide some benefit in reducing those hazards. But regional districts have other powers that could be applied to trees, like development permit areas, for example. And so I think clearly understanding the objectives that are to be achieved will help us identify the most suitable tool. But the quick answer through to Director Horn, I believe, is that I think there is merit in getting a legal exploration of the regional district's powers and the tools that are available to protect trees.
Thank you. My comment would be that in Mission, our experience with the tree clearing bylaw was that it was has been very difficult to enforce. We literally could not identify how many trees were cut in. We have an exact situation like this right now. We can't tell by looking at stumps whether they were cut before December 31st, 2021 or since, and can't accurately count. And so we are moving, and you started down this path, Mr. Daniluz, at the idea of thinking about land clearing as opposed to just tree removal, because of the impacts it's having for us on things like landslides and water courses moving themselves as a result of land clearing. So I'll put that out there to the mover. I don't know whether or not that's already something that can be included in the legal opinion. I'll certainly support this, but a caution from our experience is that perhaps the land clearing bylaw might be more productive tool than specifically identifying quote unquote significant trees, which is what we did.
Thank you. Director, I don't see Director Dixon's hand up anymore.
sorry.
Director Davidson, let's go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I did mention this in EASC. I'm definitely interested in that legal opinion. My understanding was that the Right to Farm Act essentially gives people who are farming the ability to clear to the water line should they see fit. And I think that also flows over into any zone that is not necessarily in the ALR, but still allows agriculture. But on the other hand, you've got the LG Local Government Act specifically calling out that the regional district can do tree permits, tree bylaws under very specific circumstances. But for me, there's a big outstanding question is which one wins? You know, does the farmer get to clear despite the erosion risk or what? Because that is highly relevant to this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Just check in, Director
Good.
Dixon. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Most of this we discussed at EASC. I just want to confirm the funding source for the legal opinion that's not Community Works. Is that correct?
Ms. Kinnaman.
Through the chair to Director Dixon, the intention here would be that it would be funded through electoral area administration. So the opinion would apply to all the electoral areas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Don't see any other questions, and I don't see any hands raised online. So I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Next item.
Next is 9.1. We have the 2022 general local elections update, elections BC candidate and third-party expense limits. This is just an information item.
Thank you. Any questions? Don't see any. Next item.
9.2, we have requests for access to records and information under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act 2022. There is a motion for your consideration with two options provided.
Thank you. And please indicate which option.
Move option one,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there a seconder? Okay, option one is moved and seconded. Discussion. Director Adamson, go ahead.
I'm not sure how this would work. Is it $10 for everything, or is it $10 like more than one time? Like, I'm just worried about it adding up in costs. So,
Ms. Kinnaman.
Through the chair to Director Adamson, it's a $10 application fee. So any work that goes beyond the 3 hours would be in addition to the $10 application fee. And if you submitted multiple applications, that $10 application fee would apply each time.
Director Horn.
Thank you. Speaking contrary to the motion, I was swayed by the correspondence we received before the RACS committee meeting and the debate at that meeting. I don't see this as a true way for us to actually manage costs. It won't really have that impact. And so to me, the only rationale for it is essentially a speed bump that stands in the way of free speech. I know that sometimes people abuse this. I don't believe the $10 will stop that. I think it will impact news organizations, especially smaller ones that are struggling right now adversely. So I'm would have been in favor of option 2 and will vote against the motion.
Thank you, Director Davidson. You're muted.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Similar to Director Horn, I won't be supporting the motion. It just strikes, I like his speed bump analogy is apt. The other thing I would think too is that as far as staff time goes, we'll probably spend, or I'd be concerned that staff would spend more time dealing with collecting that $10 fee than the cost would actually offset. So I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from board directors? Okay, I just have one question, Ms. Kinnaman, and I think I asked it at the RACS meeting when this discussion came up. And this, right now, our corporate officer has the leeway to apply or not apply this fee because it's included in legislation. We have the ability to apply it, do we not?
I think we could just turn that right over to our corporate officer
Sure.
and she could answer that one.
Thank you for that question. Mr. Chair, you are indeed correct. The ability to charge this $10 non-refundable application fee exists under regulation under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. So it's not necessary for the board to enable this through a rates and fees bylaw. So staff would have the ability to implement that fee. However, should the board direct us not to implement that fee, we would take that direction.
And just further to that, if the board tonight decided not to direct you to implement that fee, it's something that could be revisited later on down the road should applications become exorbitant or overwhelming. Right now, from what I understand from the report, a lot of staff time does go into preparing FOI, responding to FOI requests, but it's just, it hasn't been to the point where it exceeds our ability to respond to them in a timely fashion.
That's correct. The FOI applications that have come in, although they have increased significantly, it's still well within staff's capacity to address that. And just to answer your question about the fee, should the board wish to revisit that, that would be as simple as just having an updated resolution from the board directing staff to in fact implement that fee.
Okay, and then just one final one. There was, I can't remember the exact number of requests that came forward last year, but I know, as you said, it had increased significantly. However, had we applied the $10 fee to those requests, what would that have resulted in? About $500 or something?
So we received 55 FOI requests last year. So at $10, it would be $550. I could maybe rely on Miss Lounsborough to check my math on that, but approximately $550.
Still in the room? No, okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Van Ness.
Dixon.
Director Dixon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, probably back to Ms. Van Ness. So if this was defeated tonight, and it became an issue or a challenge, then we wouldn't know that unless it was brought forward again, but from the staff. And so that would just, I guess, be my request that should it be defeated, that staff feel comfortable coming back and saying, okay, it's become more of a task than we can manage.
Ms. Kinnaman.
Through the chair to Director Dixon. Typically staff bring forward these reports on an annual basis to report out to the board on the statistics. So you would get those opportunities likely on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you.
Director
Chair.
Mercer.
Thank you. A question through you to Ms. Kinnaman. I'm just somewhat puzzled, and I'm just out of curiosity, did you check with other government agencies? Because this fee is done normally and has been found to reduce just frivolous keyboard warriors who fill out a form and send it in and put everybody to work on nonsense. And while $10 seems nominal and minimal, rather, my understanding is that in other government agencies, it has worked to a certain extent. So I'm wondering if you did any background on that.
Through the chair to Director Mercer, I can confirm that the city of Chilliwack, the District of Kent, and the District of Hope all charge the $10 fee. We did not go beyond that at this point to see how effective that $10 fee has been for other government agencies, but I can confirm that 3 of our member municipalities do in fact charge that application fee.
I would like to suggest, I don't know what format we would follow, Mr. Chair, but to defer any chance of defeat until that question is answered. I think that's important information. I know myself from, personal experience of bringing down probably 30 staff to do this at the end of years when high school do civic projects and just inundate government agencies with access to information requests. It can get out of hand, and it's my understanding clearly that the nominal just $10 has deferred a lot of that. And I'm sure we have no staff on the regional district that signed up with their number one goal in their careers to do frivolous FOI requests.
Thank you, Director Mercer. Director Dixon, you've got your hand up again, or nope, you're good. I just wanted to try and understand. So Director Mercer, were you asking to defer the vote until such time that we can get a confirmation around the number of FOI requests that are coming into different municipalities that have instituted the fee? Was that the intent of your comment?
Somewhat. It's more about checking with other jurisdictions that do have a $10 or just a nominal fee with escalation past 3 hours, just to find out if it did reduce the FOI requests down to the ones that are actually have merit, and it lets staff to do other things. Just a little bit more exploratory on its efficacy.
Okay. The only comment or the only caution that I guess I would have is that that's a fairly highly subjective topic, right? What might seem as frivolous, freedom of information request might seem frivolous to one, may seem very important to another. So I don't know how we would be able to get that. I completely understand the question and what you're trying to get at, but I'm not sure if we're going to get the type of answer or the qualitative kind of data that you're looking for. But happy to entertain a motion. Ms. Van Ness, I just need some help with process.
I'm in, Mr. If I might, I'm in support of it. I'm just worried that I'm just thinking about staff and maybe not having all the information we require to actually have a sincere vote, if I could use that expression. Informed vote. How's that?
So you're in favor of the motion that's on the floor now?
I am.
Okay. Director Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a lot of experience with this, but my personal thoughts around this is that the $10 fee is pretty minimal. And I think that it would encourage just people that had serious questions and requests rather than just, willy-nilly. So I think that it would be a deterrent, and it would just be something that a person that was seriously wanting to pursue this would be happy to pay $10. Obviously, the district's not going to get rich on it, but I think that it's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Johnson. Director Lowen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My interest would be equally to know what is best practice. If we incur the $10 fee or not, I would like to be able to say that this is best practice. So in that respect, it would be good. I agree with Director Mercer to get a better sense of what is best practice out there. What are other jurisdictions doing other than just 3 of our member jurisdictions here? If the overwhelming number of jurisdictions have a fee, well, let's do it. If there's only the 3 here in the FERD, well, let's not do it. So what's best practice?
Okay. Director Clute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaking in favor of the motion, given the 3 member municipalities are already implementing this, and I believe it's a fee that is minimal but not limiting the ability for individuals who are serious about pursuing this. You go to Starbucks, you spend $6 on a coffee. This is really quite minimal, and I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Director Clute. Director Adamson.
I'm going to speak against this. I think that all the steps that we've taken in the past years, like this broadcasting and all this to be transparent, I think 55 requests over a year, that's like 1 a week average. I don't think it's a burden to our staff. They haven't said it is. They said they can handle it. And I think the $10 is you might say it's not going to bother anybody, but it is a burden for some people. A lot of us don't go to Starbucks. We go to McDonald's where the coffee's $1. And I'm against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Adamson. I want to circle back to, I'll get Director Facio, and then I'll circle back to you, Director Mercer, in case you wish to introduce a deferral motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just repeat what I said at the RACS meeting. I think that the corporate officer gave us a report from 2011 to last year that the FOI went up 400%, if I'm correct, in what she said there. Now, I'm being the mayor, I'm probably closer than the electoral area directors, because I'm there close to the staff all day. But, it really depends on what the FOI is about. One FOI document could take hours or days for research to look back onto before they can even answer this. I mean, you're getting 3 hours free, so $10 to me is a very bare minimum for the amount of time that staff take on the issues of FOI. I'm not saying it's a great thing. People should have the ability to apply and go through the FOI. That's democracy. I fully agree with that. But I think you've lost the how long some of these FOIs take in time, and whether you have a staff of 1 like I've got, or a staff, I'm not sure how many regional in the office here have, maybe it's 2 or 3. It could be 1 as well, but that's a lot of work. It's not an easy job. And on top of that, it's not just that person doing FOIs, they have other duties in the regional district as well. So I fully support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just circle back to you, Director Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just request that we defer this decision back until staff can bring back a more qualitative data. And I accept fully that it's going to be intuitive at best, but I think having more information is better than less.
Thank you. A seconder for that motion, seconded by Director Lowen. Ms. Van Ness, on deferral motions, no discussion, or?
Technically, this would be a referral to staff.
Okay. And so there'd be no discussion on the referral.
Just let me double check that.
I think we've almost discussed this out. I think we've talked it out. So are we ready to call the question? I don't see anybody wanting to have any more discussion anyways. So we'll call the question on this referral. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, let's count. I'll say all in favor, and please indicate. Then this is to refer back to staff to get more qualitative data on this subject, on the $10 fee. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hands.
Looks like we have 6 in favor.
What about online? I see one. Please keep your hand raised. Raise them up high.
1, 2, 3, and then 3 online. That's 6 in total.
6 in total. Okay, and opposed. The motion is defeated. Okay, so just want to check on process. We're still back to the motion on the table, which is the approval. Are we ready for the option 1? Question on option 1. Are we ready? All in favor? And opposed? I'm going to call the motion defeated. I'm going to call the motion approved. It passes. Am I right? I hope so. The motion passes. Next item.
Thank you for your patience. It's always a challenge with these hybrid meetings and counting the votes, so I appreciate that. 9.3, we have the Fraser Valley Regional District Board and Committee Procedure Bylaw number 1600. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. That is moved by Director Ross, seconded by Director Popo. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.1 is the 2021 Grant and Aid Financial Accountability Reporting. It's an information item, but staff are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions on this item? Don't see any. Next item.
10.2, we have a 2022 Grant and Aid request for the Cultus Lake Park Board in Electoral Area H.
Thank you. Over in a
Move
second.
Dixon.
Moved by Director Dixon, seconded by Director Stobart. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.3, we have a 2022 Grant and Aid request for Creekside Mills at Cultus Lake Electoral Area H.
Thank you. It's moved by
Dixon.
Director Dixon, seconded by Director Clute. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
11.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Election Procedures Bylaw number 1661.
Thank you. First reading moved by Director Stobart, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. None, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Second and third reading is moved by Director Popo, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. All in favor, opposed, motion carries. And adoption is moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Ross. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
Next is 11.2. We have the Fraser Valley Regional District Officers Establishment Bylaw number 1646. And I
Thank you.
think that staff were actually going to put something up on screen just to reflect the new staff. We're fine with that. Okay, so
We're
we can
good?
go forward with the motions in the head sheet.
Okay, first reading is moved by Director Stobart, seconded by Director Facio. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Second and third readings moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Shahal. Still no discussion, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries, and adoption is moved by Director Popo, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Did I
Chair.
miss one?
Yes, there's a motion for there on your.
Oh, a fourth motion.
Thank you.
That's the one that has the names reflected.
Oh, I don't have that on mine. Okay.
So motion for, it has all of the 1, 2, 3, 4 officers that were named in the report. And it
Okay.
reads, and that the below individuals be appointed and designated as officers of the Fraser Valley Regional District in the following capacities.
Okay. Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Blue. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Okay, good. Next item.
Thank you. It's 11.3, which is the Fraser Valley Regional District Security Issuing Bylaw number 1663.
Okay,
Moved. Horn.
thank you. It's moved by Director Horn and seconded by Director Siemens. Discussion.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Chair, that we promised to put up the old sewer pipe as collateral.
No, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, That item carries. And motion number 2, it's moved by, let's go with Director Horn again, seconded by Director Stovart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. And motion number 3 is moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Siemens. All in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
11.4 is the Fraser Valley Regional District zoning bylaw number 1638.
Thank you. Let's move by Director Dickey and seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. I don't see any. Just recognize staff work on this. This is a pretty significant undertaking. So good work. And thank you again to all the EAs for their hard work on this as well. Call the question. All in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
Moving down to section 12 of the agenda is the permits. And I believe Chair Lum, you have a script in front of you.
I do. Pursuant to Part 14, Division 9 of the Local Government Act, this is the opportunity for the FBRD Board to hear from the public regarding the development variance permits listed on the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed applications will be given an opportunity to speak. If you have any verbal comments with respect to this permit and you're joining us by Zoom on a computer or smart device, I'd ask you please press the raise hand function. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be asked to unmute yourself. If you're joining us on Zoom by the phone, please press *9 and this will notify staff that you wish to speak to the item. When you're prompted to unmute yourself, please press *6. Those of you wishing to speak are asked to begin your presentation by providing your name and address, which will be recorded and form part of our official record tonight. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and confine your remarks to the applications at hand. Ms. Kinnaman, the first item.
12.1, we have development variance permit 2022-02 to reduce setbacks at lot 50-46484 Chilliwack Lake Road in electoral area E.
Thank you. And is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Ma'am, please make your way to the podium.
Penny Anderson, 8615 Coventry Place, Chilliwack.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sadly, on August 1st, 2021, my brother passed away, and as the executor of his will, I was left in charge of cleaning up his estate at Unit 50, 46484 Chilliwack Lake Road. My big brother was a kind, caring friend and neighbor who lived a simple life. His finances were a mess as was his mobile home. I sought legal advice and was told to seriously consider not taking any steps in the matter and ultimately renounce my executorship, as I would be doing all the work for the benefit of the creditors and would be taking on potential liability exposure as a result. As a responsible citizen of Chilliwack since 1974, and to honor my brother's life, I felt it was on me to clean the mess up. Originally, I thought with the help of my husband and adult children, we could clean his home out and hire a contractor to renovate it. I would in turn sell it to pay off his debts and taxes, and whatever money that's left would be divided between the nieces and nephews. We spent weeks and thousands of dollars culling his stuff and cleaning out the yard, sheds, and trailer. I hired an excavator to get rid of the blackberries. I had numerous contractors come out and provide me with quotes. All the contractors suggested not to renovate. It would be best to demolish it and put a new one in its place. At the end of the day, it would have been a 1970s renovated mobile home. A brand new mobile home comes with a 10-year manufacturer's warranty. Throughout this journey, I have worked respectfully with bylaw, building, and planning, have followed all of their advice, made changes to applications where necessary, hired a draftsperson to draw up plans. I adhered to the good neighbor practices as per the FVRD construction brochure. I talked with neighbors, posted the demo permit and a note to neighbors on how to contact me if they had any questions or concerns. I've worked closely with the owner and management of the Chilliwack River Estates Mobile Home Park, attended the EASC and board meetings here in April, and I'm here again today. The mobile home I am proposing to put on the site is a brand new 2022 Moduline 14 by 66 foot home. I am requesting a variance to reduce the allowable setback on the west side of the proposed new mobile home to the carport on lot 49 from 20 feet to 10 feet 7 inches. On the east side, a reduction of 20 feet to 10 feet 4 inches from the proposed uncovered deck to the shed on lot 51. Both requested setbacks are within the allowable minimum setbacks as set out per the FVRD. It is most unfortunate that both neighbors' ancillary structures are right on their property lines. Please keep in mind the distance between the actual mobile homes exceeds the required distance of 20 feet. It has been upsetting to read the letters of opposition with respect to putting a new trailer on the lot. Many of them do not have anything to do with the development permit variance. One is plagiarized from a BC Government Ministry of Health document. Aside from Bruce Dodds of Unit 49, not one of the people who submitted an opposition letter has spoken to me. I cannot help but wonder if these various emails have been sent by an individual who has taken the time to create email addresses for a few different non-existent people. For example, on Saturday, May 21st, I had the opportunity to speak with Debbie Clarkson of Unit 51 and showed her a copy of one of the two emails her purported roommate, Manisha Weir, had written. She let me know she had no idea who that individual is, nor is she opposed to the trailer being put on my lot number 50. She said anyone from FVRD is welcome to call her. On May 24th, I spoke with Mr. Barry Haraprasad, the owner of Unit 24. This is another address that has been used in 3 of the emails opposing the variance. He has written a letter stating he does not know Victoria Sticky, nor is she his representative or ever lived in his home. The only concern, as far as I know, is regarding the fire setback raised in Bruce Dodds' letters. I have explained to him the trailer does not come into his fire setback. In fact, the new trailer would only be 11 inches closer to his trailer. I believe Mr. Dodds has a vested interest in the property at my lot Unit 50, as he has been using it as his own storage area and to park his truck and trailer. In closing, I would hope for an approval of the variance as I have invested a lot of time, effort, and money into this endeavor. The pad and yard at my lot Unit 50 are cleaned up, and ready for the installation of a new mobile home and landscaping. I have followed the rules and guidelines and have met the minimum zoning required regulations. I have paid a $95,000 non-refundable deposit on the mobile home. I have delayed the delivery once, and I'm hoping to get the green light to move forward tonight. The building, planning, and bylaw departments at FVRD, as well as the owner and park management, are in full agreement with this going ahead. Hopefully, a beautiful home will soon be available for an elderly couple to have the opportunity for an affordable purchase in our beautiful Chilliwack River Valley. Thank you. And along with me today is Miss Linda Persiani. She's the park manager, and I hope you've had the opportunity to read her letter, and we would welcome any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Questions from directors? Director McCahonick.
This isn't a question, but I've been talking to Ryan, I'm the alternate director, and we're in approval of it.
Thank you, Director McCahonick, or alternate Director McCahonick. Any other discussion or questions from board directors? I don't see it. I'll just check in online. Yeah, and this is for EAs. But we'll check in and see, Ms. Anderson, if anyone else would like to speak to the item. So thank you for your presentation tonight.
I thank you all.
Thank you. And just call to see if there are any other presentations on this item. Please make your way to the podium, or Ms. Van Ness, I understand we have some people online as well.
We do have 4 members of the public joining us tonight, and this would be your opportunity to make any statement with respect to this development variance permit. Just raise your hand, please, if you're joining us on Zoom.
Second time. No, check in. Ms. Anderson, for a second time, is there anything else you'd like to add for the board, or anything else, any other members of the public who wish to speak to the item before I call the question on it? Please make your way to the podium, and I'll just get you to start with your name and address for the record. Oh,
I'm the
there we go.
manager of Chilliwack River Estates. I find it very disconcerting that people would fraudulently put in letters of opposition to this, that these people don't exist. And I just want to say that I have all my records of ownership in our park, if anybody would like to look at them.
Okay.
Thanks. That's
Thank-
it.
Okay,
Thank-
thank you. I'll just check and make sure there's no questions for you. Doesn't look like any. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Okay, I don't see any other comments. So are you ready for the question? This is EA's unweighted. Do we have, sorry, I'll actually on the table. Would somebody like to move? Director, I'll look to alternate Director McCahonick. You'd like to move approval and seconded by Director Adamson. Any further discussion on the item? Don't hear any. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The motion carries. Thank you. Next item, Ms. Kinnaman.
Next is 12.2. We have development variance permit 2022-06 to reduce the rear and interior side lot line setbacks at 8829 Maderas Road in electoral area G.
Thank you. And before we begin on this public hearing, Ms. Anderson, we won't feel, don't feel rude if you don't wish to stay for the remainder of the presentations tonight. There's still some daylight out there, and we won't feel offended if you wish to leave now. Thank you for your presentations. Ms. Van Ness, sorry, if there's anyone who'd like to speak to this item, please indicate.
So for the members of the public who are joining us online, if you want to speak to this item, you can raise your hand. And I do note that we have one member of the public in our boardroom. This would be your opportunity. And it does
Thank
not appear.
you. No, just check for a second time really quickly, third and final time. No, what is the board's wishes? We have a mover and a seconder on the item. It's moved by Director Stobart, seconded by Director Bales. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
Item 12.3 is development variance permit 2022-07 to reduce the rear lot line setback for a new single-family dwelling at 44149 Malcolm Road in electoral area C.
Thank you. And is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak to this item?
Just checking on our Zoom attendees. If there's anybody who would like to speak to this item, hit the raise hand function. And we do have one member of the public if you'd like to speak to this item.
Second time. Third and final time. No, it's the board's wishes. Director Bales, you can move the recommendation. Okay, you'd like to move the motion, seconded by Director Dickey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. And next item.
12.4, we have development variance permit 2022-08 to reduce the front and side setbacks at 20748 Edelweiss Drive in Hemlock Valley electoral area C.
And thank you. Any members of the public who wish to speak to this item, sir, please make your way to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Eric Schmidt, and I'm the owner of a lot beside the lot where the permit is taken out. And my problem is that they come too close to my lot and the snow load. We have a lot of snow on Hemlock Valley, and with the slopes of both roofs go in the same direction, that will really fill up and put pressure on both houses. The other house on the east side, the slope of the roof is the other way. So he should move a little bit closer to that house and more away from mine. So that doesn't happen, because I've seen it happen before up there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our presenter tonight? Okay, I don't see any
There's
questions.
one more thing.
Please.
He most likely has to go into his basement, and there's not enough room for walkway or driveway. And if he could make a little bit room for I have a driveway, but he goes on my driveway then, and then we both can go in the basement anymore when we have to move some stuff.
Are you on the, I just have a question for you, sir. Are you on the west or the east side?
I'm on the west side.
You're on the west
Yeah,
side.
and he is on the east side, and the other house on the east side, the slope of the roof is another direction than my roof and his roof.
Okay.
And so the snow will all accumulate between my house and his new house. And that could be a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Just check with directors. Any questions? Director Dickey, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This issue, we had not heard any negative comments on this proposal up to this gentleman's. Just wondering whether someone on staff might have some thing they could tell us about snow loads and issues such as this in that area.
Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you. I see Mr. Danilus has put his camera on. I think he would like to speak to this one.
Mr. Danilus.
Chair. Snow loads and the snow volume and snow shedding are significant issues in Hemlock Valley, and I appreciate the comments in that respect. The proposed variance is only for retaining walls. The house itself would meet all the required setback, including quite large side yard setbacks, which are meant to give additional room for snow sloughing off of roofs. And the proposed variance is for retaining walls that are meant to address a relatively steep slope on the site. One of the retaining walls would extend into the front setback towards the front property line, and another on the side property line. And so I think in the view of staff, the retaining walls would have relatively no bearing on snow shedding from roofs, and the roof of the house would be set back adequately from property lines and meet all setbacks.
Mr. Danilus, I'm by no means expert on this, but would a retaining wall keep snow that sheds off that roof on the west side from entering this gentleman's property? It's hard to answer that question, but
you have to see it, what's happening. I've seen it happen before. And I had to move some snow away from the other side last year because there was too much pressure on the house.
So it's snow coming over the retaining wall
And
still.
if the two houses, the slopes go to the same way, the snow will build up and put pressure on both houses. And there's enough room on the other side, and it doesn't affect the other house because his roof slopes the other way.
Okay.
So all I'm asking, if they move the house a little bit, probably 1 or 2 meters further down towards the other house.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Director Bales? I just get Director Bales and then Director Adams.
Oh, I'd like to defer this till we find out a little bit more about it.
I'm gonna wait and let's complete the public hearing before we entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Director Bales? Just because there may be other people who haven't spoken yet to this item. So if we close it now, we may miss other feedback on the item. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm just looking at Ms. Van Ness, making sure that I'm in process there. You look like it's nodding. Good. Okay. You're okay? Okay. Director Dickey?
Oh, excuse me, no.
Okay. Any other questions for our presenter? Don't hear any. Thank you, sir. Okay. Would anyone else wish to speak to this item? Ms. Van Ness, do we have anyone online?
We have one member of the public still on the line, and this would be your opportunity to ask a question. Just hit the raise hand function. And it would appear they do not have a question.
Okay. And now to board directors. Director Bales, you wish to refer this back to staff?
Now I'd like to defer it to staff and to look at the issue a little bit closer.
Okay.
Of
on
the
the
snow.
shedding. Seconded by Director Adams. And any further discussion? This is EAs. All in favor? And opposed? Motion is referred. Thank you. So, sir, that means that this item will get referred back to staff to look at the issue you've raised tonight at the public hearing.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, bye.
thank you very much. Next item.
Thank you, Chair Lum. So next item is 12.5, which is special event permit around the Lake Trail Race in electoral area H.
Thank you. And on the motion, it's moved by Director Dixon, second by
Yep.
Director Popov. Discussion. Don't see any. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
13.1, we have electoral area electrical services contract. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Adamson, seconded by Director Dickey. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
14.1 is the floodwater mosquito season preparedness. It's an information item, but I know that this is a hot topic and staff would be happy to answer any questions about mosquitoes.
Thank you. Any questions from directors? Would you like to know any Latin names of mosquitoes? No, you're okay. I tried. Sorry, Mr. Lilly. Okay. Next item.
14.2, we have BC's Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act Action Plan. Again, an information item.
Thank you. Just check in. Any questions from directors? Don't see any. Thank you. Next item.
14.3, we have interim flood support, Province of British Columbia. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. Director Horn.
No, I thought I was going to hear the question.
You don't have it.
He was getting ready to vote, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
he's just getting ready to vote. He's excited about the vote. Perfect. Okay, I don't see any questions. All in favor? Opposed, if any? I'm excited too, anytime we get money for flood relief, to be clear. The motion passes. Next item.
14.4, we have the Union of British Columbia Municipalities Provinces Authority for Orphan Dykes. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Blue. Discussion. Director Lowen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm in support. However, if you would direct your attention to the last two words of the recommendation, the therefore clause, it's where warranted. It troubles me a little bit. It's very subjective. Who's going to decide what is warranted and where it's warranted? I would think that we'd want something, if it's to be adopted, to have a little more bite. I would ask for staff input on this, but if memory serves me correctly, the provincial government does have standards or legislation that lays out to what level dikes need to be maintained and kept up. And so that's the standard. I think that it should be kept to, or should be updated to or repaired should there be an issue that's detected. So I just would encourage some stronger language other than where warranted, because it's so easy for them to simply say, yeah, we don't think it's warranted.
So what I heard is you introducing amendments, striking where warranted and adding the words where structures do not meet provincial standards. Is that sound right? Okay. Is there a seconder to that? Seconded by Director Pranger. Any discussion on the amendment?
Horn?
Director Horn, go ahead.
I hear the concern, and I had it initially myself, but in the discussions we've had with the provincial and federal ministers of emergency response, the challenge has been that they, I think, are not considering all dikes worthy of replacement because of a couple of things. First, I think they're looking in some cases to utilize sort of a natural flood control in some places where, in fact, diking would not be upgraded. In fact, dikes may be removed. And particularly, I think in some cases where there are agricultural dikes around areas that are not well populated, I'm not sure that they will continue to use the standards they've used in the past, is the short form of that. And that's why I think we're kind of stuck with the language that we have there. It's not a huge hill to die on for me, but I suspect it will end up having the same impact in terms of what the province and federal government will support.
Very good. Back to you, Director.
Mr. Chair?
Lowen. Yep.
Yes, I will withdraw my my motion there to amend it. I concur with Director Horn. I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Ms. Van Ness is giving me a look here. I think once it belongs to the assembly, it belongs to the assembly. So we'll just ask to, we'll go ahead and call the vote on this because I don't see any other discussion. And hearing that the original mover of this amendment, which I take some perhaps credit for as well, wants to withdraw it, please vote accordingly. So on the amendment, all in favor? Opposed? The amendment's defeated. We're back to the original language. And any further discussion on the motion? Director Adamson.
Oh, it's one on language. I think we shouldn't be calling these orphan dikes. I just looked up orphan and it says parents dead. The province was involved with every one of these dikes. So deadbeat dad be more like it.
The only challenge I have with that is that there are dikes that were built by private enterprise. There were dikes that were built during flood emergencies by local jurisdictions. So not all the province. I understand the intent. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Are we ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed, if any? And the motion carries.
Thank you, Chair Lem. So moving down to item 16, which is items for information and correspondence. Happy to separate any of those items.
And questions on correspondence? No questions on correspondence. Next item.
Moving down to item 18, which is reports by board directors.
Thank you, directors. It'll be your opportunity. Director Clute, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to report the Lower Mainland Local Government Association Conference in Whistler on May 4th to 6th. It was, I think I speak for the directors that were there. It was great to be back in person and a really good conference, really good to see one another. As you recall, the FERD had along with the city of Abbotsford, had ER1 Build Back Better funding for infrastructure, ER2 raising the disaster financial assistance, which was the FERD and the executive, and ER3 emergency operations reserve funds also through the FERD and executive, and they were all unanimously supported. There was I believe there was just over 20 resolutions that were debated. And like I say, it was good that we were there. Want to congratulate Director Ross on her election as president. We know that the Lower Mainland LGA will be in good hands in this upcoming year. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clute. Director Adamson.
Yes, thank you. The library board met this month. And we decided that we're going to do the budget early because of the election being early. So the end of June will be the preferred budget. And by September 21st, we'll have the final budget done. The Minister of Municipal Affairs gave a one-time gift of $8 million to the libraries for COVID recovery and emergency preparedness. FVRL's share is almost 220,000. So we'll be putting that to good use. They plan on spending this on ebooks and new collections for our playground. Our last playground offering, we have a kit. It's a 3D puzzle, and we have 100 kits and we have 500 holds on it. So it's very popular. And that's for the library. And okay, so in Sunshine Valley, the Tajmi Museum is open for the weekends. Everything's going good. On Saturday, there was it was a live stream program where Premier Horgan addressed the internment people and gave 100 million to these different sites, which, to promote the history. So we all learn from the history and it never happens again. In Yale on Sunday, we had a free pulled pork lunch at the fire hall for the community. There was maybe 60, 70 people served over about 3 hours. Everybody was happy. And on tomorrow, I have in Hope, we're having this. Yeah, there it is. We're having a skateboard competition as sponsored by Area B, Fraser Valley Regional District. And it's going to be awesome. Are you coming, Peter? I challenge you to go down there.
My invitation is for October 7th.
October 7th. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, anyway, Saturday, if you want to come, it'll be great. Thank you.
That's a good picture of you, Director Adamson. Next, any other directors? Director Ross?
Well, yeah, I was just going to report out on the Lower Mainland Local Government Association conference, but Director Clute did a fabulous job of that already. So all I will add to that is, well, first of all, a shout out to our generous sponsors, because they've been incredibly generous the past couple of years, and they really didn't get much of an opportunity to interact with the attendees. So I think it was really nice for them to be able to interact with us and get questions asked. So I know they appreciated that very much, and we appreciate their sponsorship. We couldn't do it without them. So all I will add is that if anybody has any suggestions for next year's conference, then please let us know, because we start planning right away for next year and would love your input. And please fill out your survey if you haven't already. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Ross. Any other reports from directors? Director McAhonig.
Went out to Post Creek AGM with Ryan and talked to, it's actually a pretty good turnout. Talked about, there's some concerns with homelessness and being unable to regulate fire danger. So we talked about that. And I think they had a couple of mosquitoes that were big enough to have their own names.
Thank you, Director McConaughey, and thank you for your work. Director Johnson.
Thank you. The Boston Bar North Bend Volunteer Fire Department, in conjunction with Fraser Valley Regional District, is focusing on moving to the new fire hall location. And I put a call into Dick Jones from Teal Jones, and he's agreed to supply material for the addition of a third bay for our volunteer fire department. So that's the biggest news we have. Thank you. And then I heard through the rumor mill that the community was wondering if I was going to hold a town meeting, and I feel like I'm, just kind of learning the ropes myself. So what I did instead is I sent out emails and asking different agencies to update me with services that they plan on providing for our community. BC Emergency Health Services to date have not replied to my email asking them to let me know what their plans are for providing ambulance service here in Boston Bar. And so I will await that, because as probably everyone's aware, there have been a few times lately that we've had no ambulance. Andrew Schellenberg from Fire Smart Coordinator provided a link via Zoom for people to participate in a Fire Smart virtual workshop for areas A and B. And I posted this on Boston Bar's Facebook page as it was happening May 24th. And the other things that I've got listed here will be published in our little update paper, which comes out June 1st. And Tarina College sent FRD's preparedness guide link for the community to access that information. I spoke with Ian Manderse, Area Manager Roads, and they have started some repairs on the Trans-Canada by Alexander Lodge and some in North Bend as well. Of course, so many roads need attention that they're going to have to prioritize, of course. And in speaking with Sterling, their plans are in the works for North Bend's water system, and also for detecting and testing for leakage in the old water pipes in Boston Bar. Alan Gosen, the wildfire tech from BC Wildfire Services, is going to send some information our way in the future. He was unable to meet the deadline for this month. Joe Dixon, the manager of Recreation Services, sent an outline of the programs and services that will be running from the Elmer Carlson Pool in North Bend. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson, for your hard work. Director Horn.
Thank you, Director Johnson, for mentioning FireSmart. Director Pranger and I both were on the wildfire call yesterday. A couple of things that may be of interest to the board. First, the weather forecast, this cool, wet spring that we're having will apparently have a significantly positive delaying effect in our area on fire season. They are worried about the Caribou, and they're worried about the area, the Rocky Mountain Trench near the Kootenays, but our region is looking pretty good in that respect. And the second thing, that there were a number of notes, there's some new funding in the CRI funding, and the FireSmart rebate has gone up from $500 to homes that do a FireSmart prep up to $1,000.
Thank you, Director Horn. Any other director reports? Don't see any. Ms. Kinnaman, next item.
Next is public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We no longer have any members of the public here in the boardroom, but perhaps Ms. Van Ness can go to our home audience.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Van Ness, anyone joining us from home?
Nobody is joining us from home, and we have not received any written questions.
Thank you. Next item.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
Okay, it's moved by Director Fascio, second by Director Adamson. All in favor, opposed if any, and we're closed. Let's take 5 minutes.
Thank you.